Hello, everybody.
I'm your host, Tia.
And I'm your host, Koya. Welcome to the Wig Life Podcast. For wig lovers and wearers navigating life.
Because it's not just wigs, it's life.
Let's get into the episode.
All right, everybody.
Hello.
Okay. We are back today, and we even have our notes, because this is one of those type of conversations that really need some note support.
Yeah. And I just want to say this. So when we were coming up, this was actually, because this is your first time listening or watching me and Tia have our own YouTube channels where we do a lot of wig and business related material, but mostly wigs is where we both started. And we were realizing that we were talking about the same things, but using different terms. And we realized too, in marketing, if you're a part of a specific community, they will market a wig with certain sayings, certain words that mean the same thing, but they're different based on the wording is different. The actual word is different based on where you might be seeing the information coming from or how you're getting the information. So we wanted to take the time to break it down so that when you are looking for your wigs or looking for wigs, especially too, even human hair, there's different terminologies and different things that people will use that you may not understand. So hopefully this will help you understand exactly what they're saying when they say certain words and terms, what they're meaning.
So basically, we wanted to come together. We were going to do this originally as a collab.
Yeah.
But I feel like it is definitely a better fit for the podcast. Absolutely. Because it can be a fuller conversation. But because I have always, in reviewing wigs, sat between the affordable beauty supply store wigs and name brand wigs, I noticed the different terms for the same or similar features or finishes or construction or what have you. I think that if you are going to explore wigs, no matter where you get them, the more you know, the easier it's going to be for shopping and understanding. So absolutely. I come from a research degree, and so that's what we're doing. We're defining the wig terms. Let's just start off with textures in general.
Okay. Yes.
I definitely think in the name brand wig community, textures are limited in terms of their descriptors, and also are, to me, referring more to fiber type as opposed to the texture. And so to clarify, we're going to stick into the synthetic for this conversation.
Yes.
Because human hair is just its own, and we're going to have a video on synthetic versus human hair. So we'll explore differences more in that, because it's its own universe in general. But I think that it's really important before we even start this conversation. I personally use the term hair fiber texture when I'm talking about synthetic, because it is fiber. Synthetic is fiber. It is not hair.
Right.
But because you're wearing it as a wig, I think in most people's mind's eye, they can't get it out of their head that it's not, they still call it hair.
Right.
So I use the term hair fiber texture just so they understand that it's still fiber, but they know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
And so I think when we're talking about textures on the name brand or on the affordable wig side, I think they are really talking about the mimicking of specific hair textures.
100%.
On the name brand wig side, I think they're talking about the type of fiber, such as a Kankalon fiber. So you'll see that a lot, Kankalon fiber. That is a high quality fiber. It's usually Japanese. And that Kankalon fiber was meant to mimic, I would say, Caucasian hair, straight Caucasian hair. So essentially, most, not all, because Vivica Fox, she uses Kankalon fiber too. Total side note, Vivica Fox is one of those brands that actually sits in between affordable beauty supply store and name brand. You actually find her more on name brand wig sites.
Yes.
And I think that was their way to sort of expand, very feeble way of expanding audiences. So her fibers are going to, and the descriptors are all usually going to fall a little bit more, in my opinion, on the name brand wig side than they do on the other. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, you don't see a ton of people in the affordable beauty supply store space reviewing wigs from Vivica Fox.
No.
And that's why she sat in that. She was their bridge. They were like, we need somebody
to come in between.
So she uses the Kankalon fibers. So in general, Kankalon fibers are meant to mimic straight Caucasian hair.
And I know, like, in the beauty supply, and I'm just trying to Google because I don't want to be wrong with this. I know we will have, like, braiding hair that's used to, like, when you're doing braids to add more length or volume.
Yeah.
People will have Kankalon hair.
Yeah.
I want to say. And so,
because it's a more high quality hair.
Yeah. So people will also you refer to that too as like braid hair.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's
synthetic
like,
braid hair.
Yeah. So like in the Black community, somebody would, if you say Kankalon hair, they're probably going to think of braid hair.
Right.
Hair that you're
still
using
synthetic.
To braid. Yeah, it's still synthetic, but it's hair that you would use for like braiding. So see, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, it's just used in a different way.
So I think for affordable beauty supply store, they really expand on, so they have like body wave, deep wave, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like they have what's Yaki, light Yaki. So why don't you talk about like what are the different body wave things mean? What do the Yaki things mean? Like what does that mean?
I know we're mainly talking about synthetic, but also in human hair, these particular terms are really used a lot. With the body wave, Yaki, blown out, and it's basically words that are used to describe the texture. So a Yaki or texture is a texture that I would say it mimics more, I would say, just for a lack of being able to think of something so quickly on the spot, it kind of emulates African American hair a little bit more.
This is a Yaki
wig, yeah. So
if you're
watching on YouTube, this is a Yaki texture. So I want to say I don't know if the strands are necessarily thicker.
They're going to have more porous. They're going to have a little bit of a texture and a grip.
Yeah, I was going to say they have a different look. So a silky wig, because most synthetic wigs, and you are more versed in synthetic than I am. But usually synthetic wigs are either silky, which is more like a really fine straight. Sometimes it'll have like a little bit of a shine to it. Whereas Yaki, it might have a little bit of straightness in it. So you can, like the wig I'm wearing now is Yaki and it's straight, but there's definitely a texture to it.
And see, I actually prefer a light Yaki texture because with synthetic fibers, if there is a little bit of a grip, it tangles less and it keeps the style longer.
Yes.
So, and I know a lot of people who are women who aren't of color, they're like, well, can I wear a Yaki wig? Could I wear a wig like this?
Yeah.
My thing is like, yes. And also, if you wanted it to flatten it, you could flat iron it a little bit out, more. But I feel like the sweet spot is a Yaki texture because it's, again, that's why I say synthetic hair fiber. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the texture based on it being a fiber, not a hair. So I get like some people are nervous, like I don't want to wear this because I don't want, people are concerned about like cultural appropriation or something like that. And I'm like, and I get it, but as far as a synthetic wig that's going to last you longer, a light Yaki texture, something that has a little bit of texture.
It'll last you longer.
Yes, it's not going to have as much friction. It's going to basically, like if it's a wave, the fibers, because it's fibers, are going to like connect with themselves a little bit more, and there's not going to be as much friction. So I understand, again, that's why you really have to get in the mindset that talking about fibers versus hair. Like getting a human hair wig that's traditionally a style of a woman of color, yes, potentially could that be problematic? Potentially.
And we have a whole episode coming up, so
that is
about that.
That's a very nuanced topic too. But when you're talking about synthetic hair,
yeah,
they're just trying to describe to you what it's quote unquote mimicking.
Right.
But also you have to remember, if you're going to get a very silky, straight wig, it's going to tangle like crazy. It's probably not going to last as long.
Yeah.
And Kankalon fibers have a little bit of texture to them.
Yeah, that's why we use it for braid hair.
Right.
That's exactly
so
why we use it to braid the hair, because it kind of already mimics our hair. And then when you're braiding, you want a little bit of texture to grab, because if the hair is too silky or too fine, the braids are going to unravel quickly. They're not going to last as long.
And so in a lot of name brand wigs, they only use the Kankalon fibers.
Yeah.
They're a more expensive price point, so you're going to expect that it's going to be like a bit of a higher quality fiber in general. But so that is a big one, I think, for a lot of people, is to understand, are they actually describing the texture of the fiber in terms of how it could appear to you, versus also how it feels to you.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, you want to go with what is going to, the feeling of it to me, more than really worrying about if it's this or that, because again, you're talking about synthetic. It doesn't last as long as human hair in general. And so I always talk about like the four horsemen of the apocalypse of like synthetic is to have it long, silky, straight. I guess it's only 3. Those 3 things are,
it's not gonna last as long.
If you're not gonna want to get on your wig constantly, if you want something that lasts longer, those 3 things together are not the way to go.
Right.
Long,
I agree.
silky, straight.
Yeah.
Gonna tangle, gonna be problematic.
Tangle. Yeah. So I personally like Silky Yaki because they can be combined. Like, like you were saying, with a light Yaki texture. So, you can have a wig that has like a little bit of silkiness to it. It doesn't have to be just straight or one, but basically that's what the terms silky and Yaki are. So what's the next?
To add on to that.
Yeah.
That's what I use, and this is a term I use when I describe wigs.
Yeah.
I call it the keratin treated feeling. So the light Yaki silky, it's like it does have texture, but it feels smooth, like as if you had natural curly hair, or even not, and you had it protein treated, like we went to the salon and got the keratin treated to make it real nice and smooth. Like that's why I always say it's the keratin treated feel. So it does have a bit of texture. Like this one doesn't have as much like silk to it.
Yes.
If this was your natural,
is real Yaki, like this is straight Yaki.
But if this was your natural hair and then you went to get a keratin, like a Brazilian blowout, it would feel it would still have a texture, but it would be real silky.
Yeah.
Just that protein infused. So that's how I describe what you're saying, which is the light Yaki silky, is that protein infused where you can kind of run your fingers in it. You do feel a little bit of give, but it's very smooth. It's very polished.
And that can also be referred to as a silk press.
Yes, silk press.
In the African American community, we call that silk press. Like, I know a lot of people really like those videos where they watch them take the hair and really straighten it. So silk press would be another way or another term of saying basically that same really straight silk look.
I think another term that is used, 2 different terms for the same things, is bangs versus fringe.
Yeah, because I would say bangs.
So in the name brand side, they usually say fringe, and they're talking about bangs and that sort of thing. So that's an interesting one.
Yes.
Sometimes on the name brand side, they will use the term fake hair, faux hair, or hair additions to mean usually synthetic or wig. Like fake hair, faux hair would be synthetic.
Okay.
Hair addition would be wigs, extensions. Like they kind of categorize it together. It's like you're doing a hair addition of some sort.
Okay, so that would be like an extension.
Yeah, an extension. So that's another one that's interesting.
The human hair blend, that's a good one. Because a lot of synthetic wigs will have, and that's getting more popular because of silkier synthetic wigs not lasting as long. They'll put a human hair in. I'm assuming they're trying to make it a higher quality by doing that, or having the wig have a little bit more longevity or texture to it. So
yeah, well, I also think that, so it can say human hair blend, it can say human hair mix.
Yes.
Sometimes I think Main Concept actually calls theirs style mix, and that's a blend. I think it's important for people to know what that means.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research on this. Mm-hmm. So the percentage is usually 70-30.
Yeah.
The goal is that if you have some human hair in there, that it would last longer.
Right.
I'm be honest with you. It could last longer. It could feel softer. But I'll die on the hill of, depending on how you maintain it and store it and treat it, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's human hair. I don't care if it's horse hair. I don't care what the hair is. Right. If you rip your wig off, throw it out, you don't comb it out, you don't wash, you don't keep it on a wig head, it's not going to last long. I don't care what it's mixed with.
Absolutely.
It could be mixed with Lucky Charms. I don't care. It's not going, you know what I mean? So some of this is subjective in the way that you maintain and treat it.
Absolutely, 100%.
The other thing that I have found out is that 30% may not be human hair.
Yeah.
It may be hair.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite often yak hair.
I was going to say, is it horse
or
too?
Horse hair?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know it's horse a lot of times.
So that's something to understand.
Yeah.
That be real clear if they're saying human hair or if they're just using hair mix. Mm-hmm. Because it is more often than not, which kind of makes sense because when you're talking about those blends, it's usually on that affordable beauty supply store side, and that's more mass produced. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's only so much human hair in the world. So, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And the cost is not usually as much as human hair at all. It can be a little bit more than synthetic.
It's more expensive than synthetic, but it's not as expensive. It's like in the middle, I would say, probably,
so that's
as price points go.
Just something to keep in mind. That it could be a little yak hair in there, just so you know.
Yes. Now, this one is interesting, HD.
HD is used so much for multiple different things.
Yeah.
I think on the name brand side, HD usually refers to the heat defiant or the heat safe fibers.
Okay.
Exclusively.
Yeah. And so on my side, it's more of talking about the lace and talking about HD lace, which is high definition lace. And this lace is supposed to be easier to blend in and less detectable. And so a lot of times, especially with women of color, they like this lace because if you are of a darker complexion, you have to blend the lace. You have to tint the lace, make the lace so that you can't see the lace on the hairline. So a lot of people will like the HD lace because of that. And at this point, I just think, especially with synthetic wigs, it's just a term. Because half the stuff, I don't really think it's that
like, I don't know how HD high. This is.
Yeah, but that's usually what they're speaking of. So just make sure you're looking at if they're talking about the heat or if they're talking about, because I know lace. A lot of times with the like more of the beauty supply styles or whatever, that it'll just say it can take the heat and it'll tell you how much to, and pay attention to that. I have messed up some Yaki wigs trying to put some heat in it. So
well, and I also I mean, just in saying that, always test. Because you're going off of you're going off the manufacturer. But again, different heat tools are different.
Yes.
Even if they say the same thing, always test. And if it says it can take up to 400, don't just crank it to 400. It shouldn't. I've never had a wig that actually needed 400. Like, that's really hot.
I don't even do that on my own hair.
That's what I'm saying. So if it says it's heat safe to 250 to 3.
I don't see why you would even go past 350, to be honest. Why? I mean, unless you're dealing with some really kinky hair, I don't see, because now you're talking about maybe doing a lot of damage, really, honestly. So you just have to be careful with that. And I know too, a lot of us, especially in the African American community, we think we want to straighten our hair, you need more heat. And so that's how a lot of damage gets done. So just with wigs, especially synthetic, like you said, it's not real hair. It is a fiber. So be careful with how much heat you're putting in there. So. Kinky, coily, that's all. Talking about how tight that curl is. Mm-hmm. The more kinky it is, the more coily it is, the more it's going to be tighter. And it might be a little bit more coarse. But that's
and I think on the name brand side, they more are talking about the tightness or looseness of the curl. So they don't really use the term kinky. If they do, it's usually a tight curl, loose curl, or wave.
Now I do see it in human hair. You will see this is a kinky, especially with tape-ins and extensions, because a lot of African American hair, that is our natural texture. So to help you be able to find, what U-part wig or what extension is going to blend better with your hair, you will see you may see that term.
I think one of the biggest ones that I found is the same thing for two different things is Permatease versus filler fiber. So Permatease is filler fibers.
So basically filler, and a lot of times it'll be like in the top. They'll just put it in there to like kind of give it more like volume. I actually hate it.
I don't mind Permatease.
I guess I shouldn't say I hate it.
If it makes
depends on the
sense
style.
for the style.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on the style.
So like I have Rico's Angelica. It's a style. It's giving the original long Jennifer Aniston look.
Okay.
So this is how let's talk about the Permatease part. You have to think about the fact that if you're on the name brand wig side, a lot of women who are coming to name brand wigs are coming for medical reasons. They may have had fine, flat hair to begin with that wouldn't take curl very much. And so getting the Permatease and it gives that lift.
Help them.
And also, if you're working, and now that I say this, you're going to notice this on the affordable beauty supply store side. If you're working with a style that's primarily straight, you have to realize there's nothing to hold the shape then. So the Permatease is also there to hold the shape.
Makes sense.
Because of the style.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't mind Permatease if it's not too much. But I think what happens is people don't also realize, because Permatease is like, there's like shorter, like sort of crimped fibers underneath the wefts.
Right.
They do tend to stick together. So the thing that people don't understand is Permatease does need to be broken up.
Yeah, because I was going to say, that's why I say I don't like it. Because to me, when your wig, one of the telltale ways, and I say it if you watch my reviews on YouTube, I say it all the time, one of the ways that you can tell a person is wearing a wig is a lot of times if it's poofy, like thicker in the crown. Normal hair is not extremely thick in the crown. And so sometimes if it's too much filler hair in there, it's hard to really flatten it to make it look more natural.
But I have to disagree.
Hair. Okay.
Because I think that's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Because women of color tend to really want something because they start with curly hair. They start with potentially poofy. They start with more volume a lot of the time.
True.
So you have to remember, if you are someone who's not of color that's had fine, straight, stick thin hair, like my mom's hair is so fine, she would be like, oh Tia, I love your curly hair so much. So they want that volume in their crown because they never had it. It's like, think about the thing you never had.
Sure.
The key to it is break the filler fiber up, use your fingers or a rat tail comb or something
to go in there.
And the other thing I found,
because I always use heat, I'm like, flatten this thing out.
Try a heat, if it's heat safe, try a hot comb.
Yeah, that's what I do. I take my hot comb and rub it.
But I'm saying to get into those fibers, to kind of, like, for some people, I feel like the wig is called, like, on the name brand side, I always say, well, it's going to come with, like, a hump or a bump.
Yes.
The bump is filler fiber. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's, I think, too. And now that you say that, a lot of the African American reviewers that I watch, we're like, this has filler fibers in there. And
so
we're always taking our hot comb,
Permatease.
like trying to straighten. So I guess it's just the difference of the styling.
Well, and if you really think about it, because there's two wigs from Vanessa Hair that I really loved, and they both had
filler hair,
the bump. But when I look at the stock card and the style, it was meant to be sort of that flip over.
Okay.
So if you just flipped it over, it would lay flat. So they put the filler fiber in so it would flip over and do this.
Like a swoop?
Yeah.
Okay.
And swoop bangs tend to usually have the filler fiber so that it stays.
So it stays, yeah.
So again, filler fiber, Permatease, same thing.
Yeah.
Is preferential. Yeah. But just remember, I don't care what the wig is. When you get a wig with Permatease or filler fiber, do try to break it up and then see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Because it can clump because of just the nature of it being sort of short, crimped, and being in a
little
box.
Short hair,
and being pressed together.
Yes.
So that was definitely one I wanted to talk about because that's the same thing.
Now, this is something when we did the episode with Still Looking Good, 58 Faith, she said a fall.
Oh, yeah.
A wig
so
as
we
a
talked
fall.
about...
And so you instantly knew what that was, but I didn't. And
you were like,
it's
what's
because
a fall?
It's a half, we would call it a half wig, which is just basically, so instead of the full blown wig, it's just half with the cap. So you wear your own hair in the front and then you like blend it in. But yeah, I was like,
so on the name brand side, they're called 3/4 wigs.
Okay.
Or falls. And I think they probably are called 3/4 wigs because although it is
of the way of your head,
it's 3/4 of the way. And you're calling it a half wig because I think on the affordable beauty supply store side,
call it, a half wig.
There's a lot more to blend.
Yes.
So on a 3/4 wig, it's not much, but it does come a little bit further.
Okay.
Because again, if you have sort of like straight, thin hair, you don't you can still blend it in with the wig, but you don't have as much hair to cover.
Okay.
But it's the exact same thing. 3/4 wig, half wig, fall, same concept.
Okay. Adjustable tabs.
So
are like straps.
The adjustable tabs can mean two separate things. So we can be talking about adjustable, like bendable ear tabs.
Okay, so we would just call it ear tabs.
Okay. So in the name brand side, you can have adjustable ear tabs. Some wigs, like Tressalor's Ashland, actually has an adjustable widow's peak. It has a tab there. It's like a bendable tab.
Oh, wow.
That helps for the fit. Again, a lot of name brand wigs started as medical wigs. So you're thinking you don't have hair. So this would keep the fit if you're not like gluing something down. Okay. You have that, because everybody's forehead, what if yours is up more or less? The other thing is that tab in the front at the widow's peak also controls the amount of flow. So this is a wig, again, the Jennifer Aniston, where it was like come up and out of the head.
Right.
It's a full cap wig. So that adjustable, bendable tab at the top can make it go up more or less.
Okay.
But you can also have adjustable straps, which is talking about
there's a band. Nape. Yeah, there's a band that will go around the nape, and that just helps to hold the wig in place. And also with the more affordable beauty supply style wigs, some people don't like them. Some people cut them out, especially if you have a bigger head because it's really snug. I personally like them because I feel like if you're not gluing your wig down a lot, they really help to hold the wig in place and help it to lay more flat. So I like them.
Well, and I also think that on the name brand side, there are 3 different types of adjustable straps. You have your hook straps. You have your straps that are more designed like your bra strap where you kind of pull it.
Yeah.
And then you have your Velcro straps. And a lot of people prefer the Velcro because it's actually softer. Again, thinking that they don't have hair there or they might have treatments and have a sensitive scalp. Yeah. Those hook straps can actually be really uncomfortable. So they do have the velvet Velcro.
Yeah.
And I prefer the Velcro, honestly.
With the headband wigs on the more beauty supply affordable side, you'll have a lot of Velcro.
And you also have the drawstring,
and then you'll have like drawstring or even drawstring wigs, and then the other you'll have the straps that'll kind of be like a bra too that you can like. Those come though with more human hair wigs, and you can sew it in yourself. Like you can put the strap in there yourself to fit your wig, or you don't have to have it.
That's sort of like the elastic band.
Yeah, it's like the elastic band, exactly.
So I think this is also interesting. When we're talking about like cap constructions, they can be different depending on what you're talking about. So the cap construction is really the way the cap is made.
Yeah.
And so on the name brand side, they can call it capless, which really means a wefted cap. So capless for them is, instead of it being sort of a mesh cap or a full actual cap, to them it's capless because you have those wefts. So it's not a full, and that can be problematic for some people because if you don't have hair underneath and you have a capless wig that's wefted, if the wind blows, then their actual like just scalp will show.
Will show. Yeah, those ones. I don't know what the right term is, but I always call them the stretchy ones because they tend to usually have
mesh.
that. Yeah, they have that. It usually has that stretch in
without
stretch
the
in
wefts.
there.
That's a mesh cap.
Yeah, and they usually have that stretch in there too.
And they tend to be. They can go a little bigger when it is a mesh cap, because there's that strap.
Because there's a strap.
Yeah. So I think density is a good term to talk about.
Okay. Density on my side would be, you're talking about the volume of the wig. If it's a higher
you always say
density,
volume.
I say volume.
I was like, the volume of the wig.
Yes,
You're gonna
volume
be like,
of the wig. I'm sorry, you guys.
No, it's just funny because I'm like, you say volume, which is fine, but I always think of like volume. I'm like, the volume of the wig. Okay.
So we're basically talking about the thickness. Now I'm going to be laughing every time I say that to you. We're basically talking about the thickness, how much hair is on there. And some people like a lighter density, which would mean it would be less hair, or a higher density, which would be more.
And I think on the name brand side, a lot of times they're looking for a quote unquote natural density, which means sort of thinner. Because think about the fact that if you've already had thin hair and you're going to wigs and then you lose your hair, it's awesome that you can get these wigs with all this like volume on it.
Yes. Come on to my side of the volume.
But it can be very disconcerting to certain people.
Sure.
And I know a lot of women who are my clients, they actually don't want people to know that they're wearing a wig. So they want to get a wig that was basically like the hair they already had.
Yeah.
And then just kind of go on with life and nobody really knows, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But if they come in with some kind of voluptuous Dolly Parton situation when they had stick straight hair the day before, you know, then it's not, you know, obviously it's going to be noticeable.
Right.
And I think I don't see this term used as much, but if you're looking at sort of like, or talking to someone who's a little bit older, that's been wearing wigs, especially from the name brand side, they might use the term denier as opposed to density.
Oh, okay, denier and density, same thing. Okay,
that is the same thing. Monofilament is something I definitely want to talk about.
Okay.
It's really hard to describe because to me, I use it interchangeable with something else that isn't the same but looks the same.
Okay.
So monofilament is actually a different type of fiber.
Okay.
It's a porous fiber, and then hair is hand tied into that fiber. So it's not lace per se. It's like an actual fiber in and of itself.
Okay.
Like mesh is a fiber, lace is a fiber.
Right.
Monofilament is a separate fiber, and it's like hand tied into that.
Okay.
It gives that movement of like an actual it coming out of your scalp. Name brand wigs, like that's a coveted finish and feature.
Okay.
Because it does look more natural.
On the beauty supply side, you'll see a lot of wigs that'll have a hand tied part, and they do that to make the parting look more natural.
So same concept, same end result, but they're not always using an actual monofilament fiber,
right?
Which is a more expensive fiber.
Okay.
So, but if you are someone who loves monofilament features, you probably will still love a wig so long as it is hand tied. So that's what you kind of want to focus on. The other thing is that monofilament is, actually, I will show you because this is monofilament of French lace.
Oh, okay.
So French lace was that harder lace.
Yes.
That, you know, and a lot of people prefer it because it actually sticks down and you don't have to glue it.
It's not as flimsy. It doesn't
'Cause
have as
these
much
Swiss
give. It's like
laces,
Swiss lace. Swiss lace
can,
has
like,
a lot
roll.
of give. Yeah, if you don't
it can roll.
If you don't cut the lace off right or cut it right, it's more delicate, so it's a little bit.
Which
it's not as
is lighter. It can blend easier. You can use powder.
I think it looks more natural, but the hold isn't as good as like the old school harder lace.
So this is monofilament. Feel that. You can actually feel that it is a different fiber.
Yeah.
So this is going to hold its shape in the front more. It's hand tied, you see.
Yeah.
So in feeling, I feel like it feels more like French lace. It isn't
absolutely.
French lace. So I remember
it definitely feels more like French lace.
Someone who would call me out because I would say use the term French lace when it was monofilament. The reason I was doing that was because my audience didn't know what monofilament was or what the difference was. But if you're someone who likes this monofilament, if it's hand-tied French lace, it's giving you the same feel. Is it the exact same fiber? No.
But the feeling.
But I wasn't going to go into a diatribe every time I reviewed a wig.
And this is why we have the podcast
I know.
In this episode.
Do you see what I'm saying? But I knew what they were after. They were after this. So this is definitely, though, thinner than French lace.
Absolutely.
So it's comfortable.
Yeah.
But some people don't like monofilament because they're going through treatments. This can itch. It can scratch.
Yeah. And I wear wigs for protective styling, as do a lot of African American women. Some do, of course, have health reasons, but some do it for protective styling. And a lot of people, that is why they did not like it. Because if you do have hair and you're gluing it down, or you're not wearing a wig grip or cap, it is that friction.
Yeah.
Going against your hairline, which the hair is very fine, very delicate, and you can end up ruining. So definitely a lot of people tend to like the more Swiss because of that, as opposed to, but the hold I definitely think was stronger. And you'll hear people say that, like,
but I like it because I felt like it laid flatter. I didn't have to worry about the rolling. And I'm a migraine sufferer. I actually have a migraine right now. We're pushing through. Because of that, I don't glue my wigs down. Yeah. Because if I need to take it off because I got a migraine, I mean, I can't be like, oh, now I have to over here pull up lace and do all kind of glue.
Yes.
So I prefer either the monofilament or the French lace because I just think it lays flatter without me having to worry about glue.
That was good because I learned a lot, because I do some stuff for the wig company. I do a lot of wigs for the wig company, and they monofilament, and I didn't necessarily really 100% understand what that meant. So I think
it is a different.
That will be good. So there's types of hair extensions, right? You have your micro links, you have your tape-ins, you have your ones with the combs, with the clip-in. And some, now I think people are using clip-ins a lot more for those ones with the combs. I see clip-ins a lot more.
So I've always only known about clip-ins, and I know on the name brand side, clip-ins are very popular.
Yeah.
I've only ever known about clip-ins. I never knew anything about tape-ins.
Yeah, tape-ins, microlinks.
SewIn ones. I had a lot of my friends that would get SewIn extensions.
Yes.
But remember, I had asked you, because I had a friend she's like, I have a SewIn.
Yes.
And I thought the way she described it was that she was sewing a wig into her hair.
No. So a SewIn.
That's how she described it to me.
So a SewIn is really an older way, and you don't see it as much anymore. It's kind of coming back. But what you would do is you would braid your own hair down. So I would take my hair and I would braid it down, and there's different patterns and different ways to braid the hair down depending on how you want the wefted hair to be sewn in. But the reason why they call it a sew-in is because you're literally taking the hair wefts and you're taking a needle and thread and sewing it into the braid so that the hair is
seamless.
It's seamless, right? And it's actually sewn into the braid. And so after you're done, you just look like you have a whole you have a whole full head of hair. I cannot talk today, you guys. Goodness.
You have a hair of head.
I'm struggling. And so you can, now people do sew down their wigs, but usually if they're saying I have a sew-in, that is what they're referring to. It's extensions being sewn in, not necessarily a wig being sewn in. I do think
at one point this woman was wearing a wig that she had sewn in. Maybe that wasn't her normal way of doing it.
Yeah, and you definitely can. People definitely do, but traditionally, for the most part, people glue their wigs down.
I thought it was a half wig that she had sewn down.
And you can sew it, because I could down tell a half
this was
wig
her natural
hair.
Yeah,
and or you can do that, like you can have your hair and then the extensions sewn into the back to give you maybe more length or more volume, or you're protecting your hair and you're just styling and working with the front. There's so many ways you can do it. So many ways. So
another one that I want to talk about is the term machine made.
Oh, yeah.
So machine made is the same as a full cap. Those are the same. Mm-hmm. Which essentially means there's no lace.
Right.
Now, you can have a full cap wig that is also hand tied.
Yes.
Or that is not just machine made. A lot of times, a machine made cap is going to be things you get off of Amazon that are real. You know, they have
that hairline.
The line of demarcation is real strong. The other thing is, it's like machine made full cap. On the name brand side, a full cap is the same as a basic cap.
Okay.
It means the same thing, which is just no lace, essentially.
Right. So a lot of Outre's wig pops, they don't have any lace. You just take it out, kind of just mess with it, install it, but you don't have to do any cutting, gluing, doing all that
and
kind of
names
stuff too.
can be pronounced differently.
Yeah.
Some people call it Outre. Outre calls it Outre.
Yes.
But a lot of people call it Outre, which is what I always called it.
Well, I used to always call it Outre, and then I went into this workshop with the people there, and they were saying Outre. The people from there, they were saying Outre. So I was like, oh, but I have people in my comments all the time fighting over whether it's Outre or Outre. At this point, if you know what we're talking about, you know what we're talking about.
Well, I always say model.
Yeah.
But some people say
I say model. And I say
I
volume.
just wanted to be, and I say volume, and you say volume. Yeah, so I just want to be fancy by saying model. I guess I just thought, like, I don't know, who's gonna name that thing called model?
Maybe it's a marketing thing, Tia. When you put that on, you're gonna be a model.
Not just a model.
No, you're gonna be a model.
You're not gonna be a model. You're gonna be a model.
Yeah.
I can't. Is there another name for a skin top part?
What is that?
Where it's like the faux scalp?
Yeah.
I guess faux scalp.
Faux scalp.
Yeah. So on the name brand wig side, they do call it a skin top parting a lot of times, or faux scalp.
Yeah, we'll have faux scalp.
Yeah.
I find that, especially with wigs marketed to African American women, we tend to not like that because we come in so many complexions. It's really hard because the scalp is already in there. So if it's too light, you kind of got to take it out and kind of work with it. But yeah, faux scalp is definitely something.
See, I actually like the skin top parting. And again, if you're wearing it for a medical reason, you might want a full cap because you need a full cap.
Yeah.
But I always put powder on my skin top part, and I have had people comment like they never thought to do that.
Yeah.
So just because it's a faux scalp does not mean you can't still then put powder over top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can. I just think because I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm more brown, but I know
it's usually
for
pretty
some people,
light. Sometimes too pink.
Yeah. I know for someone with that has a darker skin tone, it's just more work. And most of us want to put the wig on with as least work as possible, unless you just like styling.
Well,
I mean, there are some people who wanted to get in there and do all that.
On a name brand wig side, having a skin top part can be more normal.
Sure.
Again, because a lot of people don't have the hair, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like on the affordable wig side, if it has a skin top part, it's usually a cheaper wig. Like, it's not on your, $60 Bobby Boss.
Well, too, I mean, Bobby Boss some of them have making one. As a matter of fact, I just bought one and I was mad because I was like, this is not the right color, and I cut it out. Went in and cut it out. But
Which can be difficult.
And then, but also some human hair wigs, you can get the faux scalp on those, and they can customize it. Like, they'll have colors. So that is something too.
I'm just saying, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
When I get wigs that are on the affordable beauty supply store that have a fake scalp, they're usually like the clearance wigs, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'm used to that, like, that's cool. But I'm like, isn't that interesting that different features are more coveted depending on the market?
Absolutely, 100%. And I would say that's probably why it's not as coveted for us, is because it's some more work of the blending. And all of these things, of course, are going to be relative. As you get into wearing wigs, if you're new to wearing wigs, everybody's going to get their things that they like. So, there's going to be certain things that you may or may not like, and that, as you get deeper into wearing wigs, you may not. But the whole point of this was just to open up your mind to knowing when you're looking at different websites, shopping for wigs, going in stores, what the different terms, what they mean.
Well, I think the last two I want to talk about is wig liner and wig cap. can be the same thing or different.
Yeah.
So your wig liner can be like your nylon, like the liner that you put on.
The stocking cap?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wig cap can be the same thing. You can say wig cap and you mean the wig liner.
Right.
On the name brand side, wig cap can actually mean the cap of the wig, how it's made. This as the wig cap.
Oh.
The construction.
Okay.
So I have found people getting confused around they're like, well, how do I keep it on? I'm like, oh, you get a wig cap. They're like, what comes with it? Because someone's like, what came with the wig cap?
Yes.
And I'm like, no, not the wig cap.
Actual cap of the wig.
Wig cap can mean the actual cap construction of the physical wig. Wig cap can also mean like I use the Milano wig grip cap. So it maybe sometimes it's bamboo, it can be nylon, it can be mesh, right? And wig cap can also mean wig liner, which is your nylon, your wig, or your mesh, your bamboo.
We would definitely say on the beauty side, it'll say cap construction. Mm-hmm. And that's how you know they're specifically talking about the cap that the hair is sewn into, is what I'm trying to say.
So that's the difference. And then the last one is wig grip and wig band are usually the same thing.
Same thing, yeah. And I will say, too, wig melt, sometimes people will call the bands that you use to help melt your lace. So those are like those Velcro. Not Velcro.
Sometimes they're silk.
Yeah.
Silk or satin. They're like basically a tie. So if you're going to glue
you take it.
Yeah, if you're going to glue your wig down, and it might take a few minutes for the wig to tack, you would tie. Sometimes people just use a bandana or a scarf.
Yes, but they actually have.
That can be called a wig band.
That could be called a wig band too, yeah. They actually have spandex. Is that what I'm looking for? And it just, you stretch it. I actually sell them on, and I sell them on Silky Socks too, and it's very popular. So thank you guys for always buying them. But yeah, and it has Velcro, and you can take that and basically you just put it on to allow it helps the lace melt into the wig. So that could also be a band.
And melting is another term for gluing to the wig down where it looks like your scalp.
Yeah, melting the wig down.
Some people don't know what melt means.
Melting the wig is gluing it down real good.
So that was fun. Isn't it interesting how there's so many terms for the same thing?
Yeah, it really is. And I kind of learned this from us talking offline, so we thought this would be cool. So I hope you guys got some out of it. If you did, please let us know in the comments.
If you can think of any other terms that are like different or the same or whatever.
If you have a question like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
If you're shopping and you're like, I see this all the time, because we can't think of everything. But if you have something, please put it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. And then if you're listening, please rate and review. That really helps us with the show, getting it discovered. So that's it for this one.
And merch. We have merch.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see we have our merch. I'm wearing a T-shirt, for those of you guys listening, with our lovely Wig Life Podcast logo. And then Tia has on the sweatshirt.
And we have these pillows.
Yes. So the merch comes in different colors. We have different things. So we'll also have that linked. Yes, we have bags, duffel bags. So check that out as well. Merch. And if you purchase any of it and you wear it, please take a picture and tag us online so that we can repost you rocking your Wig Life Podcast gear. So that's it for this one. Yep. Thanks for listening. Bye. I feel like you can email. This could be a whole guide to you.
It's in my course. This is a lot of what's in my course.
Oh, wow. All right. I'm going to get y'all coaching. Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay. If you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to help support the Wig Life Podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating or review wherever you like to listen.
To stay up to date with the Wig Life Podcast, visit our website and follow us on socials everywhere at Wig Life Podcast. See you.